Mother. And we're live here on the Metal Lab, episode 24, called Assemble This. I don't know why I'm pointing at myself. I was going to point at my crotch, but then I realized how inappropriate that was.
It's really not good.
Of course, I'm Jason Collins. I'm joined here by Mike Payne.
What up?
And
No
Chase
real names,
Solomon.
man. No real names.
All the real names. All the real names.
You're the Incredible Hulk.
And for those of you watching, I do not allow the DA to use this as evidence in the future. And we're live.
Is it like that Facebook thing where you basically post saying that Facebook can't use your shit?
This. I don't know why I'm pointing at myself. I was going to point at my crotch, but then I realized how inappropriate that was. Wow, I'm getting like what I said 2 minutes ago on
That was my fault. I had the thing open in the other window.
Why?
Okay, so now that we're done with our rocky start here,
I have to apologize for swearing, because swearing is bad for the children.
I think it'll
Baby Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
all right. So we're gonna get right into what we wanted to start our show with, and that's previews. We've had our first taste of Avengers Assemble previews this week, this past week, and today even. So we're gonna start in chronological order with
What does that mean?
chronological order in the order in which they gave it to us.
Oh, I think you meant us.
Yeah.
Our ages?
Oh, no, not that part. So first off, we have Nova. Nova is packing the Avengers, Cosmic, New Warriors, Nova Corps, and Police keywords. He's got the share through the world mind trait, which means that the Nova Corps ATA is still relevant to these guys. His share through the world mind, friendly characters with the Nova Corps keyword can use Empower, but only to affect other characters with the Nova Corps keyword. We may be seeing more Nova Corps in the set, but that's all hearsay and conjecture and speculation. He's got Hypersonic, Energy Explosion, Invincible, and a special damage power off the top, which is the Human Rocket. You can give him a free action, and until the end of the turn, he can use Ignore Blocking, Break Through it through movement, and his speed value becomes 5 and is locked. So it's like a really long sidestep that blasts through walls. And until the end of the turn, he can use and his speed value. Okay, cool. He's got 7 range, flight, no indomitable, regular attack symbol, regular damage symbol. He's 141 points with the Avengers team ability. So I guess I'll start off with this one. I don't think I've ever been fully understanding of what the Nova is in comic books. I don't have a great deal of Nova comics myself, and I've never been overtly impressed with a lot of the Nova characters. Even if we use the ATA on this one and drop him by 10 points, he's 131 points, and he doesn't bring a lot of attack value to the table. I mean, he's got Invincible and Vulnerable. He can take a little bit, but as far as I'm seeing it, he's not the most potent character. And his keywords, I mean, Avengers Assemble is going to have a ton of Avengers. There's probably going to be a bunch of better choices to fill that. Cosmic does allow him to be on an entity team. New Warriors, it would be nice to see some new Warriors in the set. And the Nova Corps has been spread a bit, but a lot of it's Golden Age and a lot of it's the movie set. So that's just kind of my high-level opinion of it. We'll move next to Mike. Mike, what do you think of Nova?
Way too expensive. Just way too expensive. He looks like a swarm killer, just because he can move all over the place really quickly, through walls, etc., and use energy explosion. That's just what that looks like to me. I would put him on a police team, maybe. But he's not that good.
Okay.
Not meta?
I like his blue armpits.
I like his very defined nipple armor. That's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? This is probably gonna be one of those models that, for what we see right now, even though it's just the 3D model version of it, this looks like it's going to be a ton of clear plastic, which is going to look very pretty.
Yeah.
And as a rare, he's not going to clutter up too many packs. Although, I don't know. As far as I'm seeing it, he's not a high pick. He could be a desperation pick and sealed at best. In my books, that's kind of where I stand on it. So we'll move on to the next figure. It's been previewed. Now I believe I was going to let Jay take the lead on this, so I'm just going to describe the figure first, and then when he returns, we will have his opinion. So we have Ronin, and he has improved movement, ignore hindering. He's got a trait Need to be someone else for a while. Ronin is a wild card. Give him a free action. Replace him with any character of equal or lesser value named Blade, Echo, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, or Red Guardian on the same click number. That's a free action. That's pretty cool. White movement can use Charge, Flurry, and Stealth. Blade's Claws on the opening click with Exploit Weakness. 18 defense with a special defense power. And that special defense power is Toughness and Willpower. He doesn't come indomitable. And he's a generally footed character with 4 range and a nice little miasma of powers and a reasonable dial at 109 points. Jay.
Butcher.
Ronin.
Butcher. 12 attack, reroll the blades. That's all you really need.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting reverts, considering that we don't have a good blade. We don't have good blades, and the ones that we have are going to retire. I think we saw an Echo somewhere at US Nats. That's going to happen. Hawkeye, we have some good Hawkeyes now. Moon Knight was only okay, and he's going to retire too. And Red Guardian hasn't been a thing since Captain America. So interesting to see what figures we're hopefully going to get. Pretty potent for the points, considering how much damage he can do, which is 12. Assuming no critical hits, which is good. And his traits and versatility and wild cards are good, and he's just all around pretty awesome. He's going to beat people up.
He's going to smack people in the mouth.
Well, he's more like going to cut people.
Yeah. I just, it's really, really simple. 4 words: Charge, Flurry, Blades, Exploit.
Well, except you can't do all those things together.
No, but it's nice options. And Stealth on top of it. I'm not big on the defense power. It's not that special or anything, but it's nice to have the willpower at least in there and for a couple clicks. I can see what they're trying to do. I didn't think about Butcher, but yeah, perfect pairing.
All right. So my thoughts, I'm glad none of you guys talked about this. He's got an ID card coming.
Yes.
Which means even with what we see that can stay on the board, for 5 points he can come in and potentially, with an 11 attack, Charge, Flurry, Blades Claws, or Charge and Exploit Weakness, do a number on somebody for the low cost of 5 points. It could be that spend 5 points to get somebody off the map, spend 5 points to get somebody weakened to a point where you need them weakened to, and I don't know what the ID card inspiration powers are going to be with this guy, but chances are, being a ninja, he's going to have something to do with attack, I'm sure. Of course,
he or she, apparently.
Yeah, he or she. That's right, because Ronin is more of a figure than a gender, if you will.
It's just weird that 5 different characters have the exact same dial, kind of.
You know what? To a certain degree, it makes a little bit of sense, because if my comic book understanding of it is accurate, Hawkeye was trained very well by Captain America, so he is very ninja-like himself. And if he doesn't have a bow and an arrow, his range isn't going to be that high. And this guy would generally fight how you'd expect an Echo, a Blade, or a I don't know myself Red Guardian too much, but an Echo, Blade, or Hawkeye themselves to fight. Moon Knight would be I'd expect to be a little bit stronger, being all mystical and stuff. And like I said, I don't know Red Guardian that well, so as far as comic continuity is concerned with this character, anyway.
I want a new Moon Knight because the last one wasn't very good. Please.
he was mediocre at best. All right.
Does he have an ID card?
Who's that?
Does he have an ID card?
Who, Ronin?
Moon
Knight.
No, Moon Knight.
Amber?
I'll check.
Amber has a list of all the characters that have been announced to have ID cards based on
he did have one, but then he kind of burned it, and then he was just so I'm gonna go do my own shtick.
Yeah.
Eat up Dr. Doom.
We'll see if he has one. In the meantime, Trickshot. So Hawkeye's brother, he has the Dark Avengers, Police, and Thunderbolts keywords. Ignore hindering for line of fire. He's got a trait. When making a ranged combat attack, if all of Trickshot's targets have either sharpshooter or a range value of 7 or higher, modify his attack and damage values by +1. Before I continue, we just got a thumbs up from Amber. There is definitely a Moon Knight ID card.
Awesome.
So carrying on with Trickshot, his opening dial, he's got 8 movement with running shot, 12 attack with energy explosion with 2 targets and 8 range, 17 defense with energy shield, and 3 damage with a special damage power. He can use shape change and stealth, and he's a sharpshooter. So Mike, you want to take the reins on this one?
This is the best 104 points spent, I think. Okay, so stealth busting, 14 attack, energy explosion. Oh my god.
How's that a 14?
What's that? Oh, he can go up to 14. It's 2 bolts, so he can be firing at 2 different guys. And he gets.
No, it says it's all of.
Yeah, it's based on all the targets collected.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. So 13 attack anyway.
Yeah.
Targets have either so precision strike. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd like to see combat reflexes top dial. Although it makes more sense to do it this way around, just because he will be probably being attacked from a little bit further away at that point by another stealth buster. Colossal stamina is amazing. The Masters of Evil TA is, I think, is a really, really good TA. Gets you in and out of tough situations, and I don't know, it just looks really amazing. And I actually like the sculpt as well, even though it's one of the more basic ones out there. I mean, 6 clicks for 104 points is still really, really reasonable. Great character.
All right, Jay, thoughts?
Pretty obvious that he's awesome. I mean,
he's a gimme.
He's a nice looking sculpt. I don't know. Masters of Evil could be better on a character who already has willpower, because if he's already gonna push, he's gonna lose his stellar 12 attacks. So unless you're giving him willpower otherwise, and then I don't want a Masters of Evil push him. I like it on Colossals because their stats are already nuts, and then they have long dials, or like the new Hulk, who can potentially not even take the damage. He's pretty solid. I mean, yeah. He's just really, really, really good, and he has keywords that I like, because police is amazing.
Police is incredible, yeah.
Police is wonderful.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. It's terrible keywords. It's the worst I've ever seen.
Don't insult my favorite piece of all time that totally is unplayable now because of Precision Strike. Then the shape change and stealth on top of those stellar stats and powers are just... It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Premium.
Indeed.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about the reflexes, just because he has leap at the same time and no willpower, so it's you base him... Is he going to leap, or is he going to range combat expert in place? And then if so, you're going to hit him afterwards, or he runs away, has no willpower, has to wait to clear.
He can stay to range combat expert though too,
yeah, he can. But if they're next to you, they probably have a reason to think that they can do enough damage to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's nice because it covers a large breadth of situations.
In which case, I don't know, maybe different movement power, or maybe none at all, and decreases his points. I don't like seeing these characters now that have a power in every single slot, and sometimes they just don't do anything, and it's just kind of a waste.
I don't think this is a waste though. I think it's just situational. He's a well-rounded, character that can fit into a lot of different situations. Yeah, that's why I do like the push in that case.
I would have liked if they swapped the sidestep and the leap. Because leap with willpower, reposition, get yourself somewhere you want to be, and if you're pushing to do it, you don't want to push just to move, and maybe you even fail. I don't know. He's solid, but we've seen this kind of piece before, and is this guy really better than Bullseye necessarily?
No, but he keywords well with him.
That's true. Yeah, but are you going to want to play 2 of these guys? I just see Bullseye being better in a bunch of ways.
I love glass cannon teams. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're great.
But yeah, that's what he does. He definitely falls under the category of glass cannon. I see what Mike was talking about with regards to having energy shield and combat reflexes in where they are. Energy shield to lead out the game, because the game starts, regardless of how you play the game always starts squares away. Right? Now, granted, later on that could, or very quickly that could change, but energy shield is where you generally want to start a character who's staying at range, so he's protecting him where he's at his strongest. And then if he's taking damage, he's already at his weakest, so be strong where he's at his weakest. The combat reflexes in conjunction with the leap and climb could give him the time he needs to clear. It's just my opinion on the matter. And the fact that it comes with precision strike means if the character who he's adjacent to has got super senses, which is very, very, very common in this game, he's definitely his high attack is still worth something.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thoughts on it. I mean, I see what could occur in this space in the dial, where you have the options, and options are always good. But I see where Jay is coming from. Why do you want leap and climb if you've got a certain set of powers that make you want to stick around? And of course, he's got late dial willpower to run back to. Do healers even exist anymore? Is that a thing?
Bane is a thing.
That's true, but yeah.
Within his keywords, I don't think so.
No, I don't think he's going to match up the keywords on this one. But in a nutshell, he's an archer, so he's
you can get around it.
much like WizKids. I've got a soft spot for archers, so they've given me an archer and a ninja. So yeah, thanks WizKids.
What's left? What's the third?
What's the third? They gave me a Hulk, and they're gonna give me a Hulk in this set as well too. So, all right, that's the 3 previews we had this week in a nutshell. So those are our thoughts on them as we stand. But where the meat of our conversation is going to be is this weekend is the Canadian Nationals. So we've already had the U.S. Nationals occur. We've had at least one ROC with the tactics back in the game. So we've got a small meta starting to form. We haven't got a full-blown idea of everything that's going to be there. Plus, this is all pre-cuts. So what happens now in the meta is generally a good description of what's going to happen, but there may be a few characters here and there that we aren't anticipating going into the event. And especially we got to think about, as been said in U.S. Nationals, the Book of Skull is not leaving yet.
No.
What we want to do at this point is let's talk some predictions about what we expect to see. Specifically, what we expect to see repeat itself from the U.S. Nationals or the Melbourne tournament, and what we don't expect to see repeated or show up, for that matter, in any kind of aggression. So let's start with Mike. Mike, what do you think is going to show up, and what don't you think is going to show up?
Well, I think that the Ugly Orange Monster team is going to show up for sure. That's Lydia Malor, or Lydia, depending on how you pronounce it. Malor with Black Hand on Zombie Super Skrull with the Orange Battery. Very, very effective control team. Pick a power, make sure they can't use that power, and high enough attack to be able to be effective beyond that. Oh yeah, and of course the steal the ring, you bastards. Yeah, it's a theme team, so they generally they have a 3 higher chance of actually winning initiative roll, and in which case they choose to go second, and that way your force is formed, and they can steal a relic from you. Lydia can steal a relic from you and put it on to the Growing Darkness characters, which in this case is just her. And that disables a battery. So that's a clear silver bullet for a battery right there, because in many cases you're not going to have theme for those batteries, and you'll lose that. So it's important to make sure that your team functions even without the emotional spectrum ability or the actual bestowed ring abilities or the +1s or whatever you're getting from it. However, it doesn't disable the battery completely. You can still use any of the constructs on your team. Roll for the battery, use the battery's powers itself, just no emotional spectrum and no ring powers. So I'm just going to hit up on, that's my top pick for that, and then I'll hit my bottom pick that I don't think that we're really going to see. I think that we're going to see, it's from previous experience, I think we're going to see no Iron Pharaohs whatsoever. After the nerf a little while ago. I mean, that's pretty much a given. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of Bullseye teams. Bullseye in particular. There was a nerf to Bill as well. He's not completely useless, but in fact, he's still very, very good. But I don't think the pairing with Bill is really as valid as it once was. Mainly because you do have to have Bill be adjacent to the character that it's affecting. And before, you just did a power action for Bill, and he could use, and anybody or any of your attackers would get the shoot the highest point figure anywhere, or regardless of line of sight power. So that's been sufficiently nerfed at this point. Other than that, I mean, we have just so many more batteries. So we're going to see a lot of variety. I've never seen. I mean, I'm still fairly new to the game, but from what I understand, we've never had a time where there've been as many resources or as much variety within the resources themselves. So we will definitely see Book of Skulls. We'll probably see Bat Belt while it's still legal, and just a whole variety of different teams. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Jay,
I'll go third.
you'll go third. So as far as what I expect to see, this "we're not gonna die" meta exists. We saw Kenny Pena doing very well with his dupe and gluttony combination.
Yep.
We saw at least one or two more gluttonies in the. I think it was just at least one more gluttony in the top 8, and then there were at least a couple of them in the top 32, from what I understand, or our spy network has told me. So gluttony is relevant. He takes 1 damage at a time, and he deals 1 damage back to you. That's obnoxious. And you've got to be packing the pulse wave if you're going to be going into the battle of attrition with that. At least if you want to see it die in the game. Dupe, again, as well, takes 1 damage at a time. His is slightly different, so if you can find sources of multiple damage outside of an attack, you might actually have a better chance with doing some damage to Dupe than you do with Gluttony. As far as what you're expecting to see, I mean, that Kenny's team, I'm probably expecting to see at least one copycat of, if not Kenny playing it himself, as I heard he is coming to our Canadian Nationals, and he is a very good player and is likely to make day 2. Now, that said, will he repeat himself or will he change it up? Who knows? I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, and I do plan to record an episode of Champ Chat with him next week. But that said, I do expect teams that are hard to kill. They exist. One of them brought the Rock of Eternity.
Doesn't screw you.
The guy knows who I am. That's what it is. So now, here's the thing. I don't actually expect history to repeat itself on that. I don't want to take anything away from, I believe his name is Brandon. He probably played the living crap out of that team and probably murdered a lot of people with it, as he did make the top 8. And that is the team he built is very hard to kill on its own, and the Rock of Eternity just adds problems to it, especially once the game starts to go to the length that he's going to force it. So it does fall under that the hard to kill team does exist. It's a problem, it's a nightmare, and we have to be ready for it as players in the current metagame. So as far as what I don't expect to see, I think the mystery of, or the idea of the Batman and the Harley Quinn were there. They were great figures when they first showed up, very flexible figures when they showed up. I don't think anybody has quite figured out how to make them fully work yet. This is a really strange metagame to make them work, and the necessity of their particular choice of multiple powers isn't quite there. Engineer still has a chance of showing up, if you ask me. I think there's enough idea that people might show up with certain teams that Engineer will have strength against with regards to how her poison functions.
Well, that's also, another pick a power for the orange battery, right? So.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a character who can potentially choose a power. Another thing I do expect to see is entities. I thought they'd be showing up in shorter form with the changes, and I have been proven wrong once again, as I often am very wrong with regards to my predictions in the meta. Entities do show up still in great number. The Gluttony Dupe team had an entity on each of those characters, as well as the Book of Skulls to add to further statting those already pretty decently statted characters. The fact that they're hard to kill, plus the extra stats, it's a nightmare nightmare scenario altogether. Yeah, so what are we going to see? Hard to kill teams. What do I expect not to see? The lesser forms of pick of powers. I definitely Engineer and Zombie Super Scroll are more likely to show up. The Batman. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that Batman, but I don't think he's going to show up in quite the numbers that we all predicted when he first showed up.
Too squishy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Jay, your thoughts?
I'm expecting a lot of monster keyword, a fair bit of mystical keyword because of gluttony, just being gluttony, and really cheap. Because I don't know what he is now after Nats, but before Nats he was what, $20?
Yeah,
He's over 30.
Now he's over 30, but okay, but before, like, easy to get. I can see him popping up a lot. Various zombies making the rounds, maybe Shriek again with the sniper, because that was good. Lydia's good.
Oh no, you know what? He's only going for 25. Sorry to cut you off.
Well, you'll regret it later. Yeah, I mean, Headpool is just really awesome, and I'm just, like, loving him. Especially with potentially, hopefully, new word bubbles to make him even more awesome. Less expecting to see... That's pretty inappropriate for the air, just saying. Don't beat people up, unless it's in Click's form.
What does that even look like in pantomime, though? Like...
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see the whole mentality of people being afraid of the green battery, but it also not showing up at all. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that whole thing works out. Are people gonna bring free action based characters, or are they not because they're afraid of the green battery, or has everybody just kind of realized that it isn't showing up? But then is somebody gonna build a team that uses it effectively and catches everybody by surprise and beats people? I would be very surprised if a battery didn't win. Probably gonna. I don't know. Expecting orange or green to end up winning the whole thing. Maybe a power plant, depending on how smart the person plays and what they have with it. And also, the power plant is less vulnerable to Lydia, but she's not showing up as often as you'd think either. So, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how many Desperados show up because high attack numbers exist now.
Yeah.
Really high.
Yeah. So, I mean, for some of my teams, I would have been happy to see Despadar because I'm thinking, oh, that's actually a fairly easy 55 points.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what the team was, I would like to see them in some of my builds, but some of them less so. But it'd be interesting to see what shows up that shows up a lot but doesn't end up winning. Like, is Silver Centurion going to show up because he lost Worlds last year? He just placed top 8, but obviously didn't win this past Nat, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and what surprises people bring.
Yep. That's one of the things that I remember Patrick saying about last year is we're a surprising meta up here in Canada. We play strange, mostly because we have knowledge of what's being out there in the metagame, and so many of us want to be the guy up here to either play something way off the wall, completely different, or game-changing. But right now, this is a very different meta than what's existed before. I think like last year, it's a little bit of a slow game. I expect more games to go to time, though I don't see as many ties per se in the future in this year in the game. I know last year there was a lot of teams that just kind of sat in the starting areas and hoped to goodness that they hit the opponent who was in the other starting area. This year, I'm expecting to see a little bit more damage being dealt. You might see like some teams have little vulnerabilities. You might see some hit and run tactics that you really have a lot of times you'll have no choice but to make. I know I've already thought of a couple of matchups where it's a matter of certain teams I have just have to kind of kill one thing and just get away from much slower or less mobile characters. At the very least.
The problem with that tactic, though, as well, is that if you don't win all 3 or all 4, depending on how many people are there, you're gonna score really low and you might get knocked out of the top 8.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is like when you're stuck in some of those games, like if you're playing against, let's say, the Gluttony Dupe, Kenny Pina's team, Gluttony Dupe and Split Lip with a Book of Skulls. So right off the bat, you know that Split Lip is the easiest, most scoreable target on his team. So right there, you got to think to yourself, okay, can I get that 20 points and run, and run and run and run and watch the clock? Or not. You can't really watch the clock. You don't have a visible clock necessarily in front of you, as you're not supposed to in the game. But you're supposed to be, running the clock out as best as you can, keeping away from your opponent. And if you can get a couple pokes in, do what you can. But it's a really difficult team to kill. It's been made that way specifically, and you can't fault the guy for doing it. And then you go to your next round, and if it's a bad matchup, now you're already in a bad place because you know that the matchup you're up against could very well be the thing that knocks you right out, because now in the last round you've only scored 20 points. Right? So now you've got to either be good enough and know your matchup well enough, all your matchups well enough, and how to take that like 20% win ratio and turn it into at least a 50% ratio in some cases, because there will be some teams that kind of take your matchups and go, I beat you, right? And then it becomes a matter of you've got to find a way either around that or however you can do it. I know a little while ago I kind of discounted the idea of the Book of Skulls and a power plant doing very well, but I mean, seeing how the Book of Skulls did with Kenny Pina's team, and seeing how Justino took the top 2 at the Melbourne ROC with a power plant on his team, and having had a chance to pilot that particular version of the team, those things are still relevant, to say the least.
I don't think we're really going to see a Phoenix Force though.
Yeah, the Phoenix.
I was looking at it. It still has some merit.
Yeah, there's
things that other resources just don't, like giving invulnerability amongst other powers plus flight.
Mm-hmm.
Flight can be really important. It can make or break a character sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if you take, say, a zombie that doesn't fly, well, they ignore characters. Slap flight on that, they basically ignore everything. Or a Shriek, who can then just one of the sections of the Phoenix Force starts off, my personal favorite, starts off with running shot, energy explosion, defend, +1 damage. That could be really, really, really good on some characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of the matter of, it's good, but will you see it?
It depends on the build. I think some builds might call for it more than others. Like, let's say a team, if you're thinking that you're going to see a lot of easy kills, a Phoenix Force thing is good, because on the last section, you kill 2 things or roll doubles twice, you're at +2 stats.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing a 10-pole that you're really confident can kill something, it might be something to consider. Just a matter of what you're playing, and if you want full down invulnerability and other powers on them or whatever. It's just a matter of what you want to play.
Yeah.
It's not really good to. I don't think it's a good idea to discredit any individual resource unless you're talking the Penguin, which, as much as I love it, is just not meta. But that's something else entirely. Okay, or the back.
The Penguin on Batman of Zeren-R.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I should be worshipped.
If there's one thing I can actually think about with regards to Phoenix Force, is that it does give all the characters that are sided poison, and poison is very effective against those. If you can get enough numbers on it. I mean, granted, at 42 points put into your team, if you're going to put a full complemented Felix Force across an entire team, you're looking at
the Felix Force.
Did I say Felix?
You said the Felix Force.
I don't think we're going to see Daxstar, so no Felix.
I think
Felix Force.
Be nice to see, because you can't put it on the alpha primitives because they start most of the time. They're not going to be starting in the game on your force plus or 2 viewpoints. But I think with the sin objects and other ways to move for free, I could see some stuff happening.
Yeah.
There's that one ATA that nobody uses that gives you 4 free movement. You know.
There's the police.
Yeah. So potential 6 free movement plus poison plus other things can act. I can see that doing some stuff.
I can get behind that. It seems like it's going to take a lot of work to make that work.
I don't know. I've just been in the mentality of trying not to copy and trying to think of original things, not necessarily purely for individuality, but just to kind of do things nobody's going to expect.
Nobody's looking at. Yeah.
Because you're Canadian there, eh?
Yeah. Like, I've been
It's our
looking at ways to just stop gluttony from being effective, and there are some things out there that can be really surprising that can really hurt them.
All right. So those are our thoughts going into Canadian Nationals. A lot of it's predictions. Some of them are probably going to be complete bollocks. We don't 100% rely on what we said. These again are what we.
Nobody should ever take anything I ever say ever seriously.
Ever.
Funny because the first question from our fans I want to address is actually directed right at you, Jay. He didn't catch your opinions of the Age of Ultron set, and he wants to know what your opinions of the Age of Ultron set are.
Like the whole thing?
Let's talk about Age of Ultron. Like, what do you think of Age of Ultron as a whole? You don't have to go through figure by figure. Just.
I think there's the one low, unfortunately, of the Vision, who is very interesting because if his dial was backwards, he would be so much better. Because, like, why flight and phasing flying wing symbol and phasing together? Like, dumb.
Yeah.
But overall, there's a lot of gems. The generics are annoying because they've been impossible to get, but they also look cool, so they're really expensive. But there's a lot of potential of a lot of things in this set, like the Quicksilver, who's super cheap for what he does, which is 14 hypersonic and prob and 18 defense for very few points, relatively speaking, who with the right resource can maybe do some shenanigans. Like this guy with Proselyte can be pretty frightening. Or, I don't know, the Captain America that can give people tokens just by rolling leadership, or Hulk. Hulk, the one who hulks because he is Hulk.
Because he's hulky.
I've never had such a difficult choice of Hulks.
It's just so annoying because he's just so good, and then, like, when I say I want to play him, people just sigh. I'm like, but I haven't even played him yet. Hawkeye's nuts. Scarlet Witch is good. I was going to play her at a local tournament, but then my connection bailed on me. Hulkbuster's is not good. Ultron Prime's okay, we're going to get more Ultrons. The starter's decent. I think the most notable things are the Hawkeye and the Black Widow. Target pieces are really good, but now we live in Canada, we don't have those anymore, so that's depressing. Just overall, a really solid set. It's not the best movie set, because that would probably have to still be Captain America 2, but it's just really solid, and the Hulk is... Oh my god, it's the Hulk. How you can't argue with this Hulk. He never gives up. He's never going to let you down. He's just going to run around and beat people up.
He's never going to live you down?
Don't start...
it already happened.
Everybody who tries to rickroll on my channel.
Yeah. Iron Man's were a bit disappointing though, which is unfortunate because I like the guy because he's cool. But yeah, really solid set. Vision is sad, but the sculpt is really nice. A bit too much generic focus for my taste though. Even though I do like generics, I don't like when you need to play specific generics with specific other pieces, like how this Baron Strucker needs the test subjects kind of thing. Like, I'll play a bajillion Thule Priest all day long, but I don't want to have to collect specific ones in order to make a figure work. But yeah, good set.
All right.
I'll shut up now.
Hope Don Prophet, you are happy with that answer.
You better be. I mean, you feel free to PM me personally, and I'll just never stop talking.
Yes, we haven't gotten. This is our attempt at trying to get him to shut up, and he still won't. If I let you on the show, will you be quiet? Yes, he lied. Anyway, so next up, Jose Rodriguez. Oh, you're back at it again, aren't you? His first question, is that Avengers set going to be the Marvel version of War of Light? I'll just answer this one quickly. No, the set you're thinking of is the non-movie Age of Ultron set. So there's an Age of Ultron OP set that's going to be coming up. Avengers Assemble is just its own set. It just also happens to have ID cards, because ID cards now have their own set of rules, separate of the resource, which we still haven't seen yet. I'm really excited for the ID cards. I've come up with some ideas. I've lined up my chance of getting some of the U.S. ones. So I'm going to be meeting somebody at Canadian Nationals and picking up a set of those. And if I find 5 left over, expect to see a Shang-Chi show up.
That guy's stats are just absolutely nuts for the points.
Yeah.
Like, you look at him, 12 and 2, but then you realize he has Precision Strike, can potentially make infinite attacks, and the Close Combat Expert, and his... What? He never goes below, like, a 10?
Yeah.
For 90 point, he's... Oh, my God.
And, of course, paying 5 points to have him for a turn is just plenty.
And Empower on top of everything else, so 5 points, get Empower on your whole team, potentially, just punch people.
Yep.
Punchy punch. Punch a Nick
Punch.
Necro.
Punch. And I think he gives like +1 attack and precision strike to as his inspiration. I'm not sure. I haven't even actually received it yet. I'm just excited for Shang-Chi, and I was watching Daredevil, so I was really excited for him too. In fact, I think the whole time I was making the arrangement to pick him up, I kept saying Shang-Chi. It's like, as long as there's a Shang-Chi in the deal, I'm good. But there's also an Ares card. We haven't seen the new Ares yet,
It's gonna happen.
But it's gonna happen, and I like Ares. So. Ever since that line in the Mighty Avengers where it's like, we need a Wolverine and a Thor. Well, how about both? And Jose Rodriguez continues with his Rock of Eternity trolling. No!
Do you think it's going to show at Canadian Nationals?
I think somebody's going to play it, and somebody who's watching this show right now.
I think somebody's going to play Pandora's Box.
Yeah, I accidentally ended up with like 4 of the sins because I pulled a pack, pulled one, got the object from somebody, then traded for 3 of the chases at once, got their objects too. It's just I have 4 of them. Kind of want to complete the set. I still have to figure out what the hell this resource does.
I honestly, actually, now that Mike says it, I think there's going to be a Pandora's box that shows up, and if it makes a top 8, he's going to come up to me and say, "Do I win the contest now?"
There's going to be a Phoenix Force, and you're all going to be like, "Oh, Jay said a thing that was right."
But it is still ongoing. This weekend is the last chance to enter it, so we'll talk about that a little later on. I heard that our ID card is not required is in the description box. Good luck to all of those at Canadian Nationals. Thank you very much, Michael Fedor. I believe that's just your channel name, though. Michael Fedor Show, I don't think is his actual name. But we much appreciate the well wishes. So we move on to the Facebook questions. Chris Stockhouse, I'm trying to get the Blue Lantern emotional spectrum to be useful. What do you think about a blue battery with Wolverine and the X-Men Bishop for better chance at a good energy absorption roll? I'll let you handle this one, Jay. What do you think?
Oh, Bishop is such a bad guy in the comics, though.
No, remember that's X-Men Gold Team early years, so he hasn't quite...
Yeah, but he does stuff later, and then it makes me sad. I actually like the Blue Lantern a lot, because Perplex is good. And the emotional can actually be surprisingly awesome, especially considering, oh no, I failed my Impervious. Oh no, I failed my Shape Change. I'm going to try again. Oh, I have Rocket Raccoon. I'm going to try it a 3rd time. Oh, I have somehow figured out another way to do it. Like, it's really awesome. You could do that. You could use it in that way. I don't think you should be using Bishop in the meta in general. There are better things to put it on. Like, I don't know, let's say you put, I don't know, you're playing Super Skrull. You're playing Super Skrull with an entity. You have him get Shape Change somehow. You have him get Super Senses somehow. So you just have a bajillion rolls, and then you can re-roll them, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure, does anybody know offhand whether his damage roll is non-rerollable?
Which damage? What? Super Skrull? It is not rerollable, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter because it matters for Rocket, but for the Blue Emotional, it's ear rolls on your opponent's turn. So basically, just your defenses, your save changes, and super senses.
Yeah, because that one specifically says a roll for itself.
Yes.
So, all right.
Yeah, but Super Skrull is unrerollable, unfortunately.
So yes, the Bishop is an option. I don't know if you're trying to be super competitive with it, but that figure himself isn't the most competitive at his point cost, although he is police, and that's a terrible keyword.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna predict right now that it came up? I'm totally predicting right now that in this age of breaking rules, kind of, and just annoying things, I think that we are going to see a character, maybe a Scarlet Witch or something like that, that has the Rocket Raccoon special power prob, but that they can reroll things that are termed unrerollable. I think it's going to happen.
In our lifetime, at the very least, sure.
Scarlet Witch is that powerful, so I can see that reality warping stuff. I mean, like, no more mutants as a trait is the dumbest power ever because most of the time there's no chance that it's being used on X-Men or Brotherhood. And if it ever is used on Brotherhood, you nearly need to not be playing this game you don't know how the game works. But yeah, I can see that kind of thing happening, and it's going to be terrible.
So next question. One of our regular question men. This is Dan Upham, the
No,
man who ran
Jason
the
will not
tournament down.
strip on camera. It is not happening. Go to his house. Ask him there.
He's really just wants to see it. So I know this is a pre-nationals tournament. Wait, I'm gonna ask that one later on. What kind of teams do you expect to see at nationals that are unexpected? Do you expect to see Gates, Swarm teams, Jenny Sparks, or Phantom X showing up?
I think we're going to see the right foot from the Captain America Sentinel.
Well, you can't play that independently.
Unfortunately, you can't.
Because it doesn't have a collector's number.
I can see a Sentinel dying and it showing up, so yeah, I'll give that. That would be a surprise. The Sentinel dying, that is. Yeah. All those things are hard to kill. Yeah. But I don't want to give away anybody's teams, but as far as two of those things you listed, yes.
I'm comfortable to answer this question.
All right, Jake. Well, while I'm looking up an answer to another question to make one of the questions asked a little easier to answer. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. It was Jenny Sparks, Phantom X, and what was the third one? Gates.
A Gates Swarm team, just as a general idea.
I don't know what that means. I played Gates in our ROC feeder event, and he did really awesome, especially with Turtle, where you can move your whole team, carry your Turtle, and even if you aren't carrying your Turtle, just push him automatically to Perplex, which is nice. Jenny Sparks is solid stats, but her defenses just aren't there, and then if you're putting stuff onto her to help her defensively from an entity, you're not helping her offensively, and she kind of needs the help.
Mm-hmm.
And she could. I don't see her doing that well, especially because the orange could show up, get rid of her pulse wave. I can imagine a lot of pulse wave happening now, just especially considering killing zombies in one hit and not having to worry about their food tokens.
Well, she could use the orange herself and then choose pulse wave preemptively against another orange battery.
Yeah, she could herself, but then what entity is she using, and is she gonna? I don't know.
She's tough to make work.
It's difficult. Great character in comics, but it's really hard to make her work in this point level.
I like the Gates and Friends referring to his own use of Gates during the Winamaps for the lead up to his ROC. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did use Gates. Yeah, Gates is awesome, and anybody who doesn't look at him is stupid because Gates is basically the TARDIS.
He's totally the TARDIS.
When he was previewed, I said he also has future keyword, which is time travel. I'm I am totally 1,000% gonna get a TARDIS to size and mod that.
You have to.
But as far as Phantom X goes, he's difficult, considering that unlike Iron Pharaoh, his way of looking through the map is harder to make work because it's based on a character whose power can actually potentially be outwitted, which is problematic. He himself is... I don't like his odds against a hard-to-kill team.
Yeah.
He can't do it all on his own. It's hard. He's good, but I think that the past was unfortunately when he had his time to shine. It just didn't end up working out. Unfortunately, I don't know. He could show up, but I don't like his odds against what's out in the meta now. I just see other things being able to just cross the map and hurt him. Super Skrull, just pick Precision Strike Battle Fury and punch him really, really hard in the face.
Yeah.
So
he's good, but I don't know. He's a bit difficult to look at just because of he's half your build. I just
yeah.
All right,
but I don't know.
Moving on. The next question we have is Shang-Chi, right here.
You're kidding, right?
Yeah, we actually had this question. So not all the fans know who all the figures are. He came out in the Deadpool set.
He knows everything.
Marvel Knights ATA is stealth. Give him a stealth. Look at him again and be like, oh yeah, that's what he does. And look at that trait.
All right, so he's Avengers keyword, Heroes for Hire, Martial Artist, Marvel Knights, and Spy. He's got a neat little white attack power. He can use Close Combat Expert and Precision Strike. He's got Charge, Indomitable, and he's got this counter block ability. Each time an opposing character targets and misses Shang-Chi with an attack, put a counter token on this card. Give Shang-Chi a free action. Remove all counter tokens to make that many close combat attacks with a locked damage value of 2 at the end of your turn. Remove all counter tokens. Unfortunately, that power won't be seeing any action with regards to the ID card that I'm really excited to get. But the fact that he comes with Combat Expert and Precision Strike, with a 12 attack, potential 4 damage, or a 13 attack with a 12, whatever you want to bring in, he can do a butt ton of damage for that 5 points that you're giving up to your opponent. That could possibly give you more than 5 points.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a good Nick Necro killer because of Precision Strike. Obviously, Nick Necro can't use his trait on him in the middle of the game. So 12 and 4 on Nick, who will he'll get his stop click, but it won't do anything because Shang-Chi won't have a resource.
That's right, because you can't actually assign characters a resource with an ID card, which does kind of bring up a question with regards to its legality with the Book of Skulls. The Book of Skulls is assigned to the entirety of your team, so does that mean that you can't really bring in characters with ID cards on teams with Book of Skulls? Something we're probably going to be questioning the WES on, as we all know the interaction with vehicles and these things as well. So next up,
I got to run.
Okay. Thank you.
If anybody asks me a question, answer. Well, I already did dupe. I'm just thinking. Parallax. Parallax.
All right. In the meantime, next question. John Allspatch, actually, he's been talking to us on private chat for the Married with Clicks channel for a little bit. He's freaking stoked about the more Dark Avengers. How do you guys feel about Trickshot?
So we covered him in the beginning of the episode. He's awesome. We think he's amazing. Out of the 3 that we previewed today, he's probably the best. He is like 13 attack for just over 100 points. The rest is just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So he's definitely a very usable character. I'm going to be using him as that's how usable I believe he is. He falls under the glass cannon category. There's a lot of really good glass cannons right now in the game. Between the Green Arrow from the Gravity Feed of Trinity War, we have the Banshee. We have who else? We have Hawkeye, the most recent Hawkeyes. Both of them are really good glass cannons.
Hawkeye with him and the Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Just with no resource, nothing, just no tactics. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to take a shot, but damn, could you?
Yeah.
And you'd probably be attacking first. So, very, very exciting outlook on that. I believe that's all until we have one last question that I did say for last on purpose. And that question is from Dan Upham. And he asked, with the upcoming ROC Provincial/State Championships, he wants to know, is there going to be a Provincials in Ontario? And if so, can you provide us with a few details to get excited? So I guess it's official now. 401 Games in Toronto is running the ROC Winnamap, or not Winnamap, the ROC Provincial Championships. The date, of course, that weekend is June 28th, and I believe, are we actually holding it on the Saturday?
27th, I think that they're holding it on. I'd have to look it up on a calendar, but it will be the Saturday itself for that weekend. And
okay, so that's the 28th.
Is it 28th? Okay, so it'll be the 28th, and there will be 4.
Yep.
Right now, there will be 4 feeder tournaments with dates to be determined and locations to be announced. 2 official announcements would be Comic Warehouse and Wizards Cash, with the dates to be determined still. But we're looking to also have they're looking to have another feeder tournament in the London area, London, Ontario, as well as in Ottawa in that area. Just trying to get enough people with free entry to make their way down to Toronto and make this thing huge, because it's the very, very first provincial championship that we'll have. And we'd like to be able to have a lot more of them.
Yep. And for those of you unfamiliar, I do talk about 401 games regularly on the weekly show where I talk about Greater Toronto Area tournaments. But the address there is 518 Yonge Street in Toronto, Ontario. That's deep in the downtown core. I'm not sure about local hotels. We're working on information with regards to nearby ones. I know that area has quite a few hotels to mention. So I don't know about the names themselves. We're still kind of working out details, and you'll hear more about it here and on other legs of our show as we carry on towards the event. All right.
And there will
be
couches available, depending, if you know people in the neighborhood, at least downtown.
Yes.
I'm sure that you'll be able to bunk with somebody on their floor, or on their couch, or wherever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Closet.
Yeah, the Greater Toronto Area does have quite a few people who are more than happy to have, friendly people over. But that's some news on that. So those of you interested. New question just got added by Connor Love. Any thoughts on Freddie Freeman for the 300-point modern meta? We want him to work. We really do.
So badly to work. I haven't been able to make him work properly. Pre the return of tactics, that's one of the characters that Jason was playing with on going to the ROC in Windsor, and it just didn't work. Zombie Super Skrull ate him a couple times, very, very relatively easily, regardless of the pilot, and that was unfortunate. But I'd love to see someone really make him work well. I think the issue is that I don't know. You have to wait 3 clicks to get to that crazy pulse wave click, and I don't know. It's just not that sustainable.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the character, and I wish he was more competitive. You'll see me play him in a lot of non-competitive teams. I have played him several times non-competitively. I even tried to play him competitively. He's a typical hypersonic beat stick. At just less points than we're normally used to. I mean, usually you get your Black Adams, your Shazams, your Supermans at the 200 to 300 point level, or Freddie Freeman falls below that. 112 points is very reasonable for a character like that, and he could possibly be paired well with a glass cannon to start picking off those characters with plasticity who will be stopping them. It's just a matter of having something to back you up that can keep the problems at bay. So it can happen. We haven't made it happen yet as far as the tactics meta is concerned, mostly because there's a lot of options that can just hard stop them. We actually get asked that question relatively regularly. A lot of people really want that character to do well. He's such an awesome character, and I feel like for me he feels like the Dark Flash from the Flash set, where the rare prime, he was so cool, and I really wanted to make him work, and it's just there's so many better options at 110 points.
Plus, the Black Lantern Zoom come at some point.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, the Black Lantern Zoom, I've seen him attempted to be played. He's potent. And with a Black Lantern, he's even more obnoxious, especially when you consider that he's hypersonicking and stealing energy.
Yeah,
very potent combination of things to have to deal with, and not fun at all to have to fight against. But for those of you not too familiar, the orange battery does put a lot of dampers on these characters that are hypersonic close combat attackers. So you really have to kind of work to make them not hypersonic close combat attackers with things like sniper rifles and whatnot. And sometimes you already have, there's characters that are out there that already give you that option and are more worth it than, say, some of these characters that you have to put the work into. Especially these characters, for the most part, aren't going to be coming with any kind of improved targeting because they don't have range, right? So if you can find an option with hypersonic and range, they kind of will fit better than these characters that we really want to make work. Just aren't working for us. But the questions just keep rolling in. Thank you guys very much for keeping us going. I guess we do have an hour-long episode this week, eh? So Chris Crilly asks, does the Cable prize figure come back into focus with the Avengers set? Those of you unfamiliar, I'm going to pull that up. But this is Cable was in the AVX, one of the AVX, I think it was the month 1 prize. where he actually got some major bonuses fighting against the Avengers. And yeah, that could really come into relevance. I don't think competitively, because when it comes down to it, don't get me wrong, this Cable is cool, but he doesn't come with a great deal to make him more than just effective against Avengers. He will definitely, your friends will hate you for playing him. I can guarantee that much. And then I'm just going to zoom in on this guy real quick. There we go. All right. So, and I will screen share. Now, Mike, did you start around Age of AVX?
I was just after AVX. I started with
This might be
the first Heroclix I ever bought was actually the X-Men starter from that, and I ended up coming in right as Slosh was starting to go.
Yeah. Okay, so this Cable's got a decent enough stat set. Unfortunate defense powers to start with toughness. He comes in 124 points. Future Past, Soldier, X-Force, X-Men keyword. Soldier is a very varied keyword and can be very effective if used in the right places. He's got 7 range with 2 targets, and he's got 2 traits. The first one is him and Hope get +1 defense when adjacent to each other. And I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. The 75-point Hope from Wolverine and the X-Men is great, but she's going to phase out before he is. So then you get stuck with this piece of garbage of a Hope, and I don't want to talk about that right now because it just makes me angry.
Yeah, but there's a really good one right before that.
Yeah, like a superb one just before that. So there's your counter argument to power creep. But his second trait, Cable modifies his attack and damage values by +1 when attacking a character with the Avengers keyword or team ability. So the thing that doesn't make him kind of stand out against Avengers is that it's mediocre stats being made slightly less mediocre against only Avengers. I don't think he's strong enough of his own merit to be brought in just because a lot of new Avengers are coming over. Now, granted, if you know your friend is coming over to your house and he's going to be playing a lot of Avengers, don't feel guilty about playing this character because he's great and he's going to be strong against your opponent's team. But I don't see him coming in and crashing the game anytime soon. He doesn't come with any movement attack on the first 2 clicks because he's got Fate, Teleport, and Shape Change on his movement power. He gets duo attack on his middle clicks, and when he does during the second attack, he uses Precision Strike. So, but he comes with a 2 damage with Perplex on that, which, you know, if you got any kind of a tough customer against you, 2 damage is going to be up to 3. And hoping it's an Avenger, it's going to be an 11 against 11 and a 4. I mean, that's what you're really hoping with this guy as your opponent plays an Avenger, and 125 points. As far as competitive play, he doesn't gain any kind of relevance. But his trait does gain relevance in the game with the Avengers Assemble set being full of Avengers. Especially with there are some soft Avengers that are probably going to be brought in via the ID cards. And if you can get that one shot off where you got a character who's got a short number of clicks or he's got a short dial on a lower dial, he could really score you some extra points with that. Because just because you're scoring the 5 with the ID card, you could potentially score the entire points for that character if you can get them off the board before your opponent's next turn. So, yeah, there's the idea that I see with it. Cable is going to be good against those characters that come out, but I don't think he's going to change usefulness because of it. So next up, has anyone tried Ricochet with a sniper rifle yet? This is Eric's. I apologize if I screw up your last name. Stibbets. Ricochet. I have not tried Ricochet yet. Now you're making me look up this character because I have a very limited line of fire with regards to what I play.
Elevated, ignores hindrance or any for movement.
Ricochet. This is from the Amazing Spider-Man. He's one of the. Okay. So I'm gonna screen share again because this is, I came in at Amazing Spider-Man and I pulled 0 of the chases, but tons of everything else. So I was quite happy with what I pulled in Amazing Spider-Man. But have I tried this guy with the sniper rifle? Short answer, no. Long answer, When Ricochet draws a line of fire for a ranged combat attack, you may choose an unoccupied square of clear terrain that is adjacent to blocking terrain within range and line of fire, and then draw your line of fire and count your range as if Ricochet occupied the chosen square.
Well, that's some potential there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that wrecking being obnoxious, and at 75 points with an 11 attack. I haven't tried it, but now you're making me think.
Now I'm going to try it as soon as I can get my hands on a Ricochet. Thank you for pointing this out.
Yeah. That's an interesting idea. It comes with super senses, which is cool. Running shot, so so you can use the running shot in conjunction with this even. And he's got mid dial outwit joined with that 10 range. Yeah, that looks like a good idea. I've never seen anybody try it.
You could throw Parallax on him. Give him some impervious top click, so 12 attack impervious. He'd pair up really, really well with a lot of different things.
Yep.
75 points. That's a good find.
There's a couple little finds that work well with some of the Construct War Light stuff that I've seen that I didn't initially think of. I've been fiddling with one that I have to kind of keep quiet because Amber's having a lot of trouble with testing as it is, and if I talk about this and make it known, she'll never forgive me. But yeah, there's weird interactions that exist that you hadn't really planned for, and they just kind of show up. All right, so the questions just keep pouring in. Everybody loves us today, eh? It's like they want us all to stay awake with the.
God damn it!
Yeah, no, like we have to test. What do we got here? WizKids has made. So we got Jose Rodriguez again. WizKids has made characters to counter past meta pieces. Any idea if they'll do the same again with the hard to kill team now? That kind of exists right now in Jenny Sparks. Jenny Sparks is capable of one-shot killing a Gluttony with the right bonuses from some perplexes. And, if you can pop a range combat expert with a crossbow on her and get a good shot off on Gluttony, you can finish Gluttony off with one good, solid hit and, oh, darn, take Mystics damage for it.
Crap.
Darn.
Oh, yeah, well, so can Blue Devil. I mean, to a certain extent. He's not quite as effective as she is in that regard, but he has a similar thing, and he ignores Mystics. And people adjacent to him or who have Justice League Dark keyword ignore Mystics as well. So there are some silver bullets out there for what is currently really, really big. It's just a matter of how are you going to make it work, because Jenny Sparks is 125 points. Blue Devil is 135 points, I believe. And in order to make them effective, they become 175 points. So you have a 10-pole situation when other 10-poles are better. So how do you make it work? I mean, I would love to see Jenny Sparks take Worlds this year, because I really like that character. I love the Authority in general, actually. On a non-meta level, I just love the Authority. But I don't think that either of those will show up. Really, like realistically, well, maybe from some people from like Northern Ontario. That's you, Sharif.
It's on you now, buddy.
On you, buddy.
So the next question: with recent reveals, do you feel the key to success on teams are Alpha Strike to cripple or continuous nickel and dime hits? Be ready to be able to do both, if you ask me. There's some teams that can really, really hurt if you can get off a good Alpha Strike. But there's some teams that just don't care if you Alpha Strike. Like that Dupe Gluttony team, you Alpha Strike, you're dealing 1 damage. I'm sorry.
Well, right? If last year's an indicator at all, because, I mean, the climate is different this year.
Yes.
But if last year's an indicator at all, most games went to time.
Yeah.
Almost all games went to time. So it really becomes about how well you can outlast your opponents and strategically take some points. Or just roll like a maniac on a roll-off, which was really, really frustrating because I can't win a roll-off for the life of me. But, yeah, I mean, it's not – I'm finding consistently when I go to events, it's not about clearing out the other teams. It's about outlasting them and taking enough to be able to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Play smart. Best advice I can give with regards to that is play smart to what you have and be ready to play against anything. So I mean, if you can Alpha Strike, but also can slow roll the opponent and just take the small shots that you can as often as you can, then you're actually like 50% better than a lot of what happens out there. Because some teams are built to do either or, and not fair as well. The thing about that Duke Gluttony team is they can play the sustained game and still do some surprising output, I think is the word I want to use, because once you give the dupe the hammer and then you start including entity damage and then you start including entity powers and what they can do with that, the potential goes up and up and up and up.
Ophidian for Pulse Wave.
Yeah. Was that?
Ophidian for Pulse Wave.
Yep. I mean, Ophidian's a good pulse waver.
It's only a 3-range Pulse Wave, but it's still like on dupe with what is it, a potential 13 attack there?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to look at what
get past his defense ability because it's traded. Yeah. It's not something that the Jenny Sparks overlooks.
Yeah. It's like I was saying earlier. The best way past dupes, or ignore damage power is to find a way to outwit his flight and knock him off of a building, or do multiple poison damage, or find some other source of damage that deals multiple damage that isn't an attack. Mostly because dupe's very specific about ignoring damage from attacks. I don't know if it's the same for. I'm gonna quickly check up.
Larfleeze with his barrier quakes.
Well, that's still an attack. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm double checking.
I'm just thinking about the sheer number of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Series of quakes.
You can be knocking back into the wall. Like if you can put a wall around him and then knock him back from the wall, and you stuck in there, you've got 1 damage dealt from the quake on dupe, and then another damage dealt from the wall. So it's 2 damage being dealt to dupe. That's
a lot of prep for a single scenario, though.
It is. So if you can find a way to make that an option, that's a thing. Of course, the orange battery comes with it if you so much as get a mallet and on a character, because the orange ring gives you plasticity and barrier. So if you can get some good combinations off with that.
So broken.
Why do they make it so good?
Well, that one came out of left field. I didn't think, I remember them previewing them and thinking, it's okay. Not bad. Looks like slow ramp up.
Yeah.
But, it's just gross.
Yeah.
It's not nice or fair or anything.
And I just checked it now. Gluttony's defense power is not limited to just attacks. It's just whenever he takes damage.
Takes damage, period, yeah. So it's really a matter of just, ricocheting him off of a wall while poisoning him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta find a way to contain and do it all at once, too. Because he does come with Steel Energy. If he can get a Quake off with a Book of Skulls, because that's what the team brings, get it all back. And you just don't want that to happen. I can't stress that enough.
Switch hammers in the middle, near the end game. Just switch hammers on those characters and do that free action Quake.
It's not even about switching the hammers, because you can just drop the hammers on the square.
I thought you had to drop them on. I haven't used it a lot, so I thought you had to drop them on characters.
Well, you have to drop them on a character.
Right.
But the character doesn't have to pick up on
square. So it can just be underneath you. That's right. Okay.
You can, it's happened to me quite a few times where I was just raining hammers because I needed attacks. It's like it's raining hammers. Let's go. I think we've actually staved off all the questions for this evening. I do want to thank everybody for the enthusiasm. We do love answering questions from the fans, and we didn't have much to talk about this episode. So thank you guys very much for joining in. I do have a couple things to mention. Don't forget that this is the last week of the Pandora's Box Challenge. The idea is you want to build a 300-point meta team using Pandora's Box. You don't have to use it in its full entirety, but Pandora's Box does have to be your resource on your team, and then you're going to have to beat 2 or 3 Lantern teams, and then any other Pandora's Box teams that did get through that. The prize for this is a con-exclusive Whiplash from last year's set of con-exclusives. So all you got to do is build the team. We'll play the teams. You just got to build it. If more than one team gets through it, it's got to play against. We're gonna have the Pandora's Box teams play against each other, and see how that goes. So we've already had 2 or 3 entries to date. A couple of them were pretty interesting. So keep them coming until this Sunday is the cutoff date. So April 27th. Put your team idea in the comments below or email them to us at marriedwithclicks@gmail.com so that we can have all your entries set up, and then we'll start running through them as fast as we can. I will be piloting your teams, just so you guys know. Amber will be piloting the Lantern team, so you guys have a slightly better chance of getting through the gauntlet of teams. Sorry, Amber, I love you.
Thanks, Chris Criley, for the luck as well.
Yes. We love all the well wishes so far today, guys. And also, don't forget, 401 Games is going to be the host of Provincials, run by the ROC. That's at 518 Yonge Street West. Or Yonge Street, not Yonge Street West. I'm so used to seeing West after so many city names.
It's a north-south street, so it doesn't really work.
Exactly. It doesn't work at all. And as well, this weekend, if you guys are going to be Canadian Nationals, myself, Mike, Amber, I believe Jay is coming as well, down to Carta Magica in Ottawa. I'll give you an address in a brief couple seconds because if you haven't gotten into the events yet, though, they are full.
Yeah,
so,
they sold out last week.
Yeah, so that's sealed and constructed for this. So if you're in, you're in. If you're not, you gotta hope. If you're coming all the way down there, you better hope that somebody is nice enough to go, you know what? I've already got my seat. I'm just gonna give up my further seats in the tournaments. I like the idea of extra con exclusive, so I'm not likely to. The address of Carta Magica Ottawa is 1179 Saint Laurent Boulevard. There's actually 2 hotels nearby. If you're going down, the Chimo and the Welcome Inn are very close and right across the street from a nice little Lone Star where they're going to be holding some events, some meet and greets, etc.
We have several other hotels as well within walking distance. I don't know the names off by heart, but we were at one last year that was within a 15-minute walk. It's not far at all.
Yeah.
Very accessible.
Absolutely. I just happen to like how very, very close that the Chimo and the Welcome Inn were. Between tournaments, Amber and I were able to actually return our con exclusive figures to the hotel and come back in time for the next Battle Royale to start or whatever we were doing. So, and to film some things in between. But that's this week in the Metal Lab. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for watching live, for watching on the archives. Thank you very much for keeping the show alive. And don't forget, guys, practice makes your team better. Good luck and have a good week.